Uganda Colonization by Samuel Finder and Liam Talberg. Uganda, land of many contrasts. On the one hand, beautiful landscapes, savannas, and wildlife, and on the other hand, gross human rights violations that continue till this day. The National Resistance Movement Party and its president, Yuri Museveni, have been in power for 28 years. They continue to stop freedom of expression, assembly, and association, among other basic rights. Uganda, in Central Africa, was one of the last areas to be formally attached by colonizers. It consisted of 4 tribal kingdoms, the largest being Buganda. Britain was initially not interested in actively running the country, and in 1888 it appointed the Imperial British East Indian Company to develop the territory. The company needed to develop a railway system across Uganda, but this proved very difficult, especially as Germany was also interested in gaining control over the area of Uganda. This led to civil war breaking out in areas. So in 1894, the British government declared a protectorate over Buganda, and in 1886 this was extended to include all the kingdoms, making the Uganda protectorate. To increase the funding, the British imposed hut and gun tax on the Ugandan people in the 1900s.
Protectorate and not a colony, Uganda kept some self-government, which colonies did not have. This meant that chiefs still had some power. The first British administrator negotiated to have the chiefs recognized by Britain and allowed them rights to their land. This was different to its neighbor Kenya. In fact, the next administrator said that white settlers should be encouraged to move to Kenya and that Uganda was not suitable for European settlement. Uganda was colonized because it was fruitful with tobacco, hides, fish, cotton, and tea. The economic policy of the protectorate allowed the African farmers to own their own land and produce these goods. These natural resources were then shipped to Britain for manufacturing. The most important resource was cotton, as it was used in the textile industry. The cotton industry started to export in around 1904 and grew rapidly. This was joined in the 1920s by commercial production of coffee and sugar. After the end of World War II, high demands for coffee and cotton brought around an economic boom.
A gradual transfer of power began already in 1921. A legislative council was set up comprising of local Africans. This grew, developing into a party political system. In 1961, a general election was held, and Uganda became internally self-governing, became fully independent in October 1962, and joined the Commonwealth. Sir Edward Mutise II, leader of the Ugandan kingdom, became the first president. However, power was held by the Ugandan People Congress party led by Milton Obote. In 1966, he changed the constitution to do away with the traditional kingdoms and to make the president head of state. In 1971, Sergeant Idi Amin led a coup to get rid of Obote. He was initially very popular but became a ruthless dictator. He expelled the Asians and Jewish communities from Uganda and seized their property. He destroyed intellectual symbols like books and chess sets. Public order deteriorated. In 1978, he invaded northern Tanzania. Tanzania considered this as an act of war and supported by the NUNLF. They marched into Kampala. Idi Amin managed to escape. In 1980, elections were held by the country, struggled to regain the economic and political stability it had experienced before. A long war between the LAR, the Lord's Resistance Army, and the government, resulting in leaving thousands of injured or refugees.
The LRA is an association led by Joseph Kony, who was fighting for the Acholi people. The Acholi people are an ethnic group, mainly in Uganda and South Sudan. Joseph Kony is well known for being a rebel leader and for his abduction of children to become child soldiers. Finally, in 2006, a ceasefire was negotiated between the LOA and the Ugandan government. This ceasefire made way for a long-term peace solution. Education, health and transport have improved, and Uganda runs one of the most successful anti-HIV programs in Africa. Though now being peaceful, Uganda is a one-party state ruled by Yuri Museveni. Opposition parties are banned. In 2009, Uganda passed an anti-homosexuality bill, which banned same-sex relationships and threatened the death penalty for those found guilty. This was altered in 2004 to be life imprisonment. The way Uganda was colonized meant that it had potential to prosper, but because of what happened after independence, it was put backwards and today has many issues.